So it's as if PlayStation just refuses to acknowledge the PlayStation VR2. It's like they dropped this thing, and it's as if they expected third-party companies to kind of take over and just kind of carry the weight of the PSVR2. And then PlayStation was just like, well, we did Horizon, Call of the Mountain or whatever. We're good, we could throw our feet up or something. It's just discouraging and disheartening. So we got some information that came out a couple days ago. I'm a little bit late to this one, but I wanted to discuss it here on the channel because one of the things we covered a bunch that did pretty good on the channel here when we covered it was the PSVR2 stuff. I mean, relatively speaking, I think they're, I think the content we produce from PSVR2 did, like I said, relatively well. And, maybe part of that's because it was a little bit more niche, it wasn't a lot of channels really covering it. I mean, most channels were just kind of like doing this one-off video kind of thing. We covered a little bit more here on the channel. And, I got to work with really cool brands like VR Optician because of the PSVR2, which I'm really grateful for. They're really, really, really nice over at VR Optician. And, they got great products. So I definitely highly recommend them. And they're a company that I only worked with because I needed lenses. Because I like when it comes to like, seeing far, I do need to wear glasses and to create prescription lenses that are very high quality. And I had actually tried a couple different ones from different companies. And when I tried theirs, I was like, wow, they're really good. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a rabbit trail. That said, if you guys do end up ever ordering from VR Optician, I do have a code. You don't have to use it. If you do want to support the channel, you can use it. Just JSkeleton gives me a little bit of a kickback, and you could order for lenses for like MetaQuest or whatever else. But like I said, you don't have to use that. But my point being is that I got to work with some cool companies that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to work with otherwise. So I'm grateful for the PSVR2 launching, and it was a lot of fun to cover it here on the channel, but it kind of died off, right? And now Sony is just like, it just feels like they're just not supporting it. They just don't care. They're just like, it just feels like they don't care. And I was talking about this the other day to my son. Actually, we were just kind of talking about the PSVR2 and the PS Vita, and I was kind of drawing the correlation between the two, that it's like the same thing repeating itself. Because with the PS Vita, this whole thing happened. We'll get back to that in a second. Let me first start off by saying that why is this topic coming up now? That's because Shuhei Yoshida, who is the former president of PlayStation, I'm not 100% sure what he's exactly working on nowadays. As far as I know, he's still involved with Sony Interactive Entertainment. I'm just not sure exactly to what capacity, but he's the former president, and he was talking to Greg Miller, and there's a little conversation. I'll throw it up on the screen really quick so you guys can take a look. This is from Upload VR. So Greg Miller was like, I remember that. I still talk about that all the time. I'm not, they're talking about something else. Whenever we talk about VR, you coming on the GDC show and, talking about, look, this is, we are at PlayStation 1 again. We are starting from scratch. Shuhei Yoshida replies saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong. PSVR2 did not become PS2. And then Greg's like, what happened with PSVR2, Shu? And Shuhei Yoshida's like, well, let's move on. So even he doesn't want to touch this topic. No one wants to touch the topic. And it's like, okay, look, like from a business perspective, like I'm not going to pretend like I'm, a business know-it-all. But from a business perspective, it's like you got this device on your hands that has a lot, in my opinion, has a lot of potential. You have a lot of first-party studios that you could kind of, work with. Look at all these IPs they could have turned, made VR out of. And yeah, I get it. It costs a lot of money to make. And then, are they going to really make that back? Because, relatively speaking, obviously you're not going to be selling as, nearly as many PSVR2s as you are PS5s. And you need the PS5 for the PSVR2. I think that's why they came out with the PC adapter to kind of, be like, all right, look, it was kind of like, it felt like PlayStation saying kind of like, look, we know, we get it. Okay. We dropped the ball in the PSVR2. We're going to give you PC support. So at least, the device you got is not a complete waste, because there's some good third-party support on the PS5. You know, Beat Saber came to the PS5, and there's a lot of really cool games that we played here on the channel. Even, you know, The Walking Dead Chapter 1 and 2 came over to PSVR2 and PS5 as well. You know, there's that cool Star Wars game that we played here on the channel that I loved. I mean, I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of really cool games, and the PSVR2. It's really cool functionally. I mean, we got like, you know, OLED panels, you know, 4K, like it's just really cool. You know, obviously the rumbles in the forehead and stuff, like it's just really cool. I think it's, you know, it seems to be one of the better VRs in that sense. Although the MetaQuest does stuff like AR implementation way better. Obviously, there's not really AR for the PSVR2, so that's one thing. But it's like the Vita all over again, which is disappointing because back in the day, obviously I didn't have a YouTube channel, you know, when the PS Vita came out, but back in the day, you know, I was a huge fan of the PSP. PSP did really good. I mean, we had some pretty good first-party games in there. We had multiple Ratchet and Clanks, for example, that are amazing games. And then the PS Vita came out, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. You know, it's like it's even cooler. You know, they had, I think the LCD came later. They had OLED first, right? If I remember correctly. Or was it the other way around? I'm pretty sure it was OLED, and then he made a cheaper LCD version. Anyways, whatever. He had the double sticks, right? The PSP did not have that. You had, of course, the touchpad on the back. And then, of course, you know, touch screen. Everything about it was cool, man. I was like, yes, PS Vita. It's like such a cool device. And then, like, Sony just didn't support it. They're just like, well, it's all good. Let's just like let third-party developers do what they want with it, and we're just going to hang back and, you know, focus on our mainline consoles. And it's like, how do you drop the ball so hard with the PS Vita, and then you release, okay, we're not done yet, and then when you release the PSVR1, and then again you kind of drop the ball because you don't really support it, and then they're like, okay, we're going to come out with the PSVR2, and I'm sitting here like, okay, surely third time's the charm, right? Surely third time Sony's like, you know, they're going to support this thing. You know, it was coming out with Horizon game. I'm like, look, man, this is the first party support right here. We're going to get Uncharted, maybe Last of Us. We have Ratchet and Clank. We have so many IPs, dude. You know, Infamous, Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, dude, so many games could work in VR. That would be so freaking cool. Can you imagine being a samurai in like a Ghost of Tsushima sort of VR game, or like, you know, in like The Last of Us kind of apocalypse? It could be a side story. You don't have to be playing as Joel or Ellie. It could be a side story. It doesn't have to be big, right? It's just something that's cool, and it actually is like, you know, something that people would actually be interested in and invested in, and that might have sold more units too. But no, same thing happens. Sony drops, you know, like a big first party game, and then it's just like they're just MIA. They're like nowhere to be found in terms of support for the first party titles. Yes, we got some pretty solid third party titles, but it's just like, how do you drop the ball again? You know what I mean? And it's like, let's be honest, over the years, like, what company has not taken some kind of influence from Nintendo, but Sony especially? I mean, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which is a great game, okay? I don't care if it's a Smash Bros. Ripoff. It's a great game, and I would love to see it come back. But, you know, that, where the PlayStation Move, they mimic the Wii. I mean, I can go on and on and on, right? They've tried many times to kind of, you know, replicate what Nintendo's got going on. And so with the same thing with the handhelds, you're like, oh, then, you know, Nintendo's got the Game Boy, and the DS had come out at some point. I don't know what the timeline is for the PSP and the PS Vita launching and next to like Nintendo handhelds. I can't remember, but, you know, Nintendo did that. But here's the thing about Nintendo, okay? They come out with the Game Boy, the DS, the 3DS, and they're supporting like actual home consoles at the same time. The Switch is the first time where they're only supporting one singular console, where it's more like a hybrid. In a long time, ever since the launch of the Game Boy, because ever since the launch of the Game Boy, Nintendo had simultaneously been supporting, a handheld and a home console. You know, there's the GameCube, and we had the Wii, and we had the Wii U, and, you know, and throughout all these eras, we had, you know, the DS and the 3DS and the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, right? Like, dude, it's crazy to me. It's like there's so much potential, even with a handheld. Sony comes out with the PlayStation Portal. It's like, who wants a PlayStation, like a random $300 device, whatever, depends on your region, that is just specifically remote play, and that's all you can really do with it? Who asked for that? I mean, it's a cool looking device, but like, if it was a handheld, I mean, dude, that would probably sell like hotcakes. But again, Sony's kind of like, they're losing the trust of the consumer every time they do this. The only trust the consumer has, I think, in Sony is in terms of their home consoles now, because they keep dropping the ball on all this other stuff, whether it's VR, whether it's handheld stuff. It's just like they keep dropping the ball and they're losing trust, and that's not really a good business model. Yeah, it's almost like they're scared to really like put the money and investment into it. It's like they're like confident just enough to make these devices, but then it's like it's almost like they're fearful of like losing money to support it beyond that, and they want to see like, well, maybe we'll just see how third-party support does. Maybe that'll be enough. And it's like, just you got to take the risk, man, at some point. And if you do, like the PSP, again, I don't know the numbers, sale numbers for the PSP, but it was a great, device. If you're willing to innovate and if you're willing to take risks, Nintendo has proven this time and time again. Like the Nintendo Switch is now the best-selling console of all time. Like Nintendo, they don't care what anyone thinks. They just want to make something fun and innovative. They're not freaking out about it. Like, sure, they're a business that wants to make money, but at the end of the day, it's like, they're just trying to have fun with it. And just like, I mean, if you have that perspective first, I think that's where the most success is going to come from in the gaming industry. Even with software, with creating games, right? When games become too much of like a monetization sort of scheme, if you will, right? We see that with so much of microtransactions in a lot of software, a lot of games. It just becomes way too much of, you just lose the sense of joy and the sense of fun. Right? Call of Duty is a great example of that. Over the years, it's just like really went downhill, and it makes a lot of freaking money, which is the player's fault for really kind of, spending so much on microtransactions, but like they're losing the fun element, and eventually it's just like, it just starts to tank at some point. So anyways, I went on a massive rant, way longer than I thought I would, but my point being is just, it's just bums me out. I seen that quote and I'm like, man. And I just started thinking about all these things that I just kind of, went off on. If you want to see more videos like this, by the way, where I take like maybe a piece of gaming news like this and just kind of talk about it like we did in this video, let me know if this is a kind of content you guys would enjoy more of. I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on that, but I enjoy doing it. I just don't know if anyone actually cares to listen to me, babble. But speaking of Nintendo, if you're into Nintendo content, please be sure to check out my Nintendo channel, JSkeleton's Nintendo World, because it's a great time over there. And we got the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out soon. I'm excited, man. I'm a huge Nintendo nerd. Like if I had to choose one gaming platform to play the rest of my life, it would be Nintendo. I love Nintendo, so my inner kid definitely comes out over there. So check it out. It's going to be a fun year for Nintendo, at least. We'll see how everything turns out for the rest of the gaming world in 2025. 2024 is so we'll see. But thanks for watching and listening to my stupid rants, and I hope to see you guys soon in another one. Let me know what you think about the PSVR2 and the PS Vita. Just everything we talked about today. What chime in the comments. Let's just keep the conversation going. Till the next one. Game on. I'll see you guys soon. Hey you! What are you doing? Join the Skeleton Army! Do it today! Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow might never come. The Earth is gonna fade, that's inevitable. The next second of your life's not even promised, so you better think about where you're going, and you might as well just join the Skeleton Army. Plus, we do kind of like you a little bit, so it'd be nice to see you around here. But if you don't want to, hey, your loss. See you later.